Okay, what is going on, good people? Welcome to another edition of Massive Action Monday. I am your host, Chris Williams. You are watching the Grow Your Side Business Show, where I help corporate ambitious employees learn how to grow profitable side businesses. Now, if you're not familiar with our work or you haven't seen any of our information, just go to growyoursidebusiness.com. That's right, www.growyoursidebusiness.com. All of our content information is there, but you're here for Massive Action Monday. And today on Massive Action Monday, I have something that I wanted to share because I realize it's something that I have to get better at. So one of the best ways I learn how to get better at something is you got to teach it. And the more times that you can teach something and it makes sense to other people, then you've actually got it. Which, by the way, as somebody who's in their corporate, I teach this all the time, and I will say I preach this all the time to people. When you learn to teach what you do, you become a much more valuable asset to your corporation and everybody around you. I think it's not that there's no jobs. I don't think that there's no more opportunities for you in the marketplace. I think the problem is many people don't know how to teach what they do. You know how to spit the title of what you do. You know how to tell everybody a little bit about it, and people still walk away confused. I'm talking about, do you know how to actually teach somebody what you do and they can go do what you do? Game over. Right? So what I'm about to show you today is something that I'm calling the 3-3-1 method. All right. So for those of you on Instagram, I want you to make sure that you join us over on YouTube. That way it won't be backwards for you. For those of you in my Side Business Builders group, welcome. For those of you on YouTube, you'll love this because I think one of the things that I've learned very early on in growing a side business was I struggled with how do I tell my story. There's a couple of levels to getting somebody to purchase your product. So when we talk about this 3-3-1 method, let me give some game first before we talk about the 3-3-1 method. First of all, when you're selling a product, here's a couple of things you got to know. Inside of selling, there's a couple of things that happen, and you might be wondering, like, well, how is it that Apple sells? How is it that Microsoft sells? How is it that Galaxy sells? How is it that Nike sells? Well, they do something that's really important. Number one, they evoke emotion. And I'm just going to go through this kind of like, this is like the brass tacks of what goes on, right? They evoke emotion. And why is that important? Because prior to the selling side, here's what happens. Most people just try to scream about their products, right? Hey, buy my service. Hey, buy my service. Hey, buy my product. Hey, buy my product. I got a product, buy my product. That's just screaming about it. That's one layer. Then there's a second layer of what people do is they demonstrate, right? So you can scream about it, which will get you no sales, or you can demonstrate about your product. And demonstrations allow people to see why what it is that you have is good for them. Okay? It allows them to be able to see that. So you can scream about it, make no money. You can demonstrate about it and make some. So what's a demonstration? Well, it might be that you have a service that you provide your clients. And instead of telling somebody about the thing, screaming about it and telling people just buy it, why don't you demonstrate how that service actually works? What does it look like when somebody gets on a call with you? What is it behind the scenes, the thing that works? Show some results of somebody who used your product or service, right? If you've got a hair care product that you sell, don't scream about the hair care product. Show some before and afters of somebody who, before they use their product, how their hair looked and what their hair looked like after, right? Maybe you demonstrate how to use your product or service. Right? That's important. These are all important. But then there's a third layer. So you can scream about it, you can demonstrate it, or you can, what I like to say is you will immerse someone with your product. What does that mean? That means that you literally show someone what it feels like, what it looks like when they actually leverage your product or service. Why is that important? Because it's important for people to see what success looks like when they buy from you. How do I know this? Okay, let's leverage an example from a well-known company known as Apple. Okay? Now, why is it that Apple will sell millions of iPhones, millions of watches, millions of iPads, millions of MacBook Pros, millions of Mac Studios, millions of, whatever, right? Why is it that they will sell? If you watch the commercials, what are they not doing? They surely aren't screaming buy my product. They're doing a combination of the last two. They're demonstrating and they're immersing you in what it feels like in the success of leveraging the product. How do we know this? Okay, here's what Apple does. Let's leverage the watch. Okay, I have on the watch right now. Okay, here's how they demonstrate and immerse you into their product. Now, this is all about storytelling. Think about the last 30-second or 45-second commercial you've seen from Apple, right? So what do? They demonstrate a mother. There's a pregnant mother, right? Pregnant mom sitting on the couch and she rubs her belly because that means she's expecting, right? They have the mood music going. And then all of a sudden she gets a notification that the heartbeat is in an okay space, right? She's doing fine. Then she gets a reminder that her doctor's appointment, her virtual doc appointment is about to start, right? And then when she gets on the doctor's appointment, what does the doctor say? The doc will say something to the effect of, hey, Sydney, your baby is doing well. Based on your, thank you for sending over your monitor from your Apple Watch. We're able to see that the baby is growing and doing just fine. What did they just do? They didn't scream about buying the Apple Watch. They demonstrated someone using it and they immersed you in what success would look like when you wear their watch as a pregnant mom. Okay? One of the ones I just saw recently is a video that, again, they don't tell you about this feature. They don't scream about it. They demonstrate and then they immerse you in it. They showed one where this gentleman was holding a pet lizard for a friend of his. And he texted him and said, I'm sorry, but your lizard has died because the lizard was upside down, right? And then all of a sudden, and he texted and sent it. The lizard turns over and starts walking. He immediately holds down the message that he sent. The messages options pop up. And what happened? He was able to press unsend. It went away. And then it said unsend unwanted messages. What are they doing? They're demonstrating and they're immersing you in what success looks like. So when we start talking about this method, what we're doing is when we sell, we gotta sell the emotion in the story, right? So the idea is, hey, for those of you who are on our Instagram, I want you to go over to YouTube right now because you can watch this right now on YouTube Live. We're gonna hang up from here, go over to YouTube. You'll enjoy it. All right. So what happens ultimately? They evoke emotion in their storytelling, right? That's how they sell. Number two, the other thing that they do is they show what success looks like when you leverage their product or service, okay? And then thirdly, what they do is they're constantly showing you multiple scenarios with their product. Okay? Evoke emotion, showing success in these scenarios. That's how they sell. All right, let's go to our 3-1-1 method, and we'll wrap this little conversation up for today. Now, what is the 3-1-1 method? The 3-1-1 method works pretty simply. So you have a product or service. Tell me down in the comments below what your product or service is, and then I want you to leverage this method in order to be able to tell your story better so that you help people see what success looks like when they purchase from you, your product or service. All right. First things first. The first three is you're going to write down three, what I would consider, let me go back, three limiting beliefs. What are the key focal limiting beliefs that your ideal buyer has? Okay, what are they? And you need to know those. If you don't know those, go ask questions. Okay, you can ask people. You can literally like directly go ask somebody. Hey, I've got this product or service. I'd love to understand more about what it is and your challenges that you have around this particular area of your life or your business or whatever it is that you sell. Right. So you want to figure out what those three limiting beliefs are. A limiting belief is the thing that is preventing the person from solving the problem that your product or service solves for them. I'll give you an example. So let's say you sell a coaching program around getting better at presentations, okay? And you have a formula, you got a system and a way that helps everybody do that. Well, the person who probably struggles with giving presentations might have a limiting belief that says, I sound terrible. I'm not that good like a Tony Robbins or whatever. But the whole point is they find all of the reasons they're not good at something. So you've got to come up with the limit. You got to be able to help me as your potential buyer and your ideal customer through that limiting belief. My presentation doesn't look as good as everyone else's. Okay, so maybe one of the things that you need to talk about is it's not about the presentation. It is about the presentation. It's crucial, but more importantly than the presentation is how you share that presentation, the story that you provide, right? The things that you have underneath it. We at our company at Chris Williams Consulting help you learn how to craft your story and your message in such a way that by the time we help you build out your presentation, it will match the thing that you're trying to help, right? But the whole point is, under limiting beliefs, there's so many layers of limiting beliefs. There's the mental side of it. There could be physical sides of it, right? There's limiting beliefs there's a financial side to it, right? So when you think about limiting beliefs, you might have to help somebody understand, hey, by not conquering this thing, it is costing you $10,000 a month. By not having this problem solved, you were losing X amount of dollars. Or, hey, busy entrepreneur, by not leveraging our system, you are losing out on potential X amount of dollars in revenue a month or a quarter that you could be using if you had our simplified system. Right? So limiting beliefs could be mental, physical, financial, whatever those cases may be. What are they, and how does your ideal client say it? Right? This is huge. How do they say it? Not how you say it. Because one of the things about building a side business that I learned in business in general, if you're really good, it ain't about you. You don't care how you think about it. You don't care much for what your ideal way of doing something is. What matters is the people who are willing to trade their money for the value that you provide. How do they say it? What resonates with them? And what do I have to ensure that I provide in my messaging and in my storytelling that causes them to want to make that transaction with me as opposed to the person down the street? Okay? So you're going to come up with my 3-3-1 method. The first three is we're going to write down three limiting beliefs. The next three that we're going to have has to relate to your story. So you're going to have 3 points, 3 main points to your story. Now, the people that leverage 3 points in a story, the best that I've seen are pastors. If you've attended any church or watched any church online or any pastor online for 2 seconds, they leverage the 3 points in a story very effectively. Okay, some of them even make an acronym out of it, right? ACT, right? They'll use ACT, and they'll have their scriptures that back up anointed, Christian, and transformed, right? Whatever, right? But my point is they're really good at storytelling. Comedians have to get really good at storytelling. They have to take you somewhere. And your 3 points, obviously, the layers of those is having a beginning. You've heard this stuff before. I'm not telling you nothing that you don't know. A middle tends to be the climax or the situation at hand, and then the end. But guess what? But guess what? Here's the key. Your 3 points could be each of these areas, right? You have a beginning, the origin story, the middle, the conflict that you discovered in your personal story, and in the end, you found a result. And you were able to keep producing that result for yourself and others, and now you're here to present that to them. So you have 3 points to your story. Here's how I would look at working the 3 points of your story and trying to figure out, like, well, what are my 3 points going to be? Here's a little homework I'm going to give you in some areas I want you to take some massive action on. First of all, if you have a limiting belief that your personal story is boring, you've got to change that. Okay? If you go look at anybody that you follow right now, they're telling their story constantly, right? I tell my story constantly of working my day job, and I went out of town for my job. I'm driving the company car. I'm on the corporate credit card. Life was good. I had to go give a big presentation to executives, and I even share, again, let's go back. When I'm telling my story about how I arrived at where I am today, I'm not screaming it. I demonstrate, I share, I immerse you into my story. I talk about getting there early because it was a big demonstration. I share with you like the moment of, being nervous in front of all of these executives and giving my presentation, exhausted, but getting a standing ovation. I feel great. I've got other meetings that afternoon, but then I get a text from my manager at the time, and she's in another room, and she says, "Hey, come see me immediately after your presentation. I'm excited. I feel great." I walk in the room. It's only her. I sit down, and she says, "Effective immediately. We got to let you go." That pause is so that you can think about what I just said, right? So my point is, you have to get really good at storytelling. You have to be able to evoke the emotion. You have to be able to show the success. You've got to be able to talk through the scenarios. Now, when we talk about this part, about the points to your story, if you have a limiting belief that your story isn't important, you've got to work through that personally. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you to be able to leverage this 3-1-1 method, right? So 3 points to your story. You got a beginning, a middle, and end. You got to be able to tell that story. Now, when I'm telling that story, where am I? I'm in the middle of my story. It's a climax, but it's a drop, right? Like it sucks. And then I talk about even behind that. I add more. I share the layers of getting behind on my taxes, ending up on unemployment, going from making over $80,000 a year to a week later working at American Eagle and only making $9.17. And I give and I share with you the emotions of that, the embarrassment of that. I give you all of that. Why? Because I'm telling a story. And if you can understand how to start telling the story of your product or service more, by the way, when you're telling your story, I literally mean your story. You have to talk about you. If you notice, most of the great companies that you follow, they're really good at talking about themselves. Russell Brunson is somebody that a lot of people know. Alex Hormozi is a lot of people that are just finding out about. Tony Robbins, people known about it for a long time. What do? They're masters at telling the story. Brendan Bouchard, whoever you follow, doesn't matter. A big tech company, right? Steve Jobs told his story. People tell their story. Why? Because when you understand the person and there's a relatability factor, it builds trust. Okay? So you got to be able to tell the story. Okay? So remember, we're doing 3-3-1. First of all, 3 limiting beliefs. Find out what those are if you don't know them, but write them down to be able to tell a good story. Now, and then the second one is 3 points to your story. It's got a beginning, middle, and end, but you need to know what is the journey that you've been on to arrive at your product or service, right? You got to know how to be able to tell that. All right. The last one is just as important. And this last one is you have to be able to share what I like to call the aha. What is the aha that you had? Some people call it the epiphany, right? What is it? What is the epiphany that you had? When I tell my story about going through that difficult moment, what I tell is my then girlfriend, now wife, coming to me and saying, hey, Chris, you need to really think about doing this as a business. You've been laid off twice. How long is it going to come to you? And then finally, I get presented with an opportunity in the health and wellness space in direct sales. And I finally give over to trying something different while I'm working my side business. And the first month of doing that side business, I open my first check from the mail, $7,508 while I'm in the elevator on my way to work, going up to my floor to a meeting that I had at 9 a.m. And it was the first time that I sat there in that meeting and going, oh my God, I finally discovered something that I didn't know exists and I couldn't tell anybody in the room. I'm sharing an aha. I'm sharing that, whoa, for 30 days, I worked this business, I got a result, and now I feel different. And I always say, I came to work different from then on. Because finally, the possibilities of what was available to me outside of this corporate identity I had were now massive. Because I was able to build something. So the aha, what was your aha? I need you to write it down. I need you to know how to be able to share that aha. Maybe you were trying to solve a problem within your story. That's the middle part. And then the aha was, I tried this system. I went and did X on my own manually, and now I've automated a process that works for this group of people, right? So let's recap. 331, 3 limiting beliefs. That's the part of storytelling. 3 points to your story. Yes, you've got a beginning and middle and end, just like any other story. But what are the 3 things that you're trying to communicate to people? What could you leverage for your 3 points? The 3 limiting beliefs that you found. So for every belief, what's a point in your story that you could help break apart for people, right? So if I, excuse me. So if I have this idea that, you know what, my story is terrible, maybe one of the points in my story I've got to share is I used to think that my story is terrible until I told it to Sarah, and Sarah not only got value out of that, she took my story and went and did something with it, right? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a way that you can take a limiting belief and push it into your story and be able to break those apart for people, okay? So we got 331, 3 limiting beliefs, 3 parts to your story, and the 1 aha. It's got to be the big aha, okay? What is the big aha that you've had about starting this side business? I don't care if you started a side business in plumbing. What is the big aha that you had about starting that side business? If you've been an executive all this time and you never really built the side business, maybe the aha was like mine. Wow, that I could actually make money doing something other than what I was doing corporately, and it made me feel good, right? Or I made money and it made me feel good to know that I gave a solution to somebody that they could see an immediate result. And it wasn't wrapped up in this corporate thing that I never saw an end result of the work that I did. What is your 1 aha? Okay? And when you do this, what you've effectively done, when you learn to do this, this is exactly what corporations are doing all day long. I want you now, with this idea and this understanding, I want you now to go and watch commercials. Just watch the commercials. What is the limiting belief that you noticed in the commercial? What are some of the points that they share in the commercial? And what's the aha that they share? Okay? Watch the Apple commercial. Watch the Progressive commercial, right? Progressive has gotten really good with this. Liberty Mutual has gotten good with this, right? Like they sing a song, right? And they talk about certain things, or they want you to understand the major message of the company. But all of them are doing this. They're tackling a limiting belief. They're sharing their points. And they give you the big aha. It could be funny way, a sad way. It could be a thought-provoking way, but they're giving you the ways to do it. I'll give you another great example as we wrap up here. Verizon had a really cool commercial probably 4 or 5 years ago where a gentleman who had disabilities, couldn't communicate. He was deaf. So actually, it wasn't Verizon. It was a bank commercial. I can't remember which bank it was. But the bank, what they did was they showed a guy walking into a bank, and because he was deaf, he felt like he was by himself and nobody could help him. Well, one day he walks into the bank, and the bank teller behind the counter signs to him and helps him with his transaction. And then the next thing you know, he's walking down the street, and the neighbor at the next local store signs to him, and this person signs him, and then all of a sudden he gets down to the end, and everybody says, "Thank you for being our customer." And it was like this financial services commercial. What did they do? They demonstrated they evoked an emotion, right? To say, hey, and then at the end it said, like, we understand our customer. Wow. The list that they went through in that commercial to show that we take care of those who might be limited in hearing, right? And what does that do? That lets the person who sees that commercial go, wow, they understand me. Or even if that's not your limit, you might go, wow, the fact that they did that, maybe I should go bank with them. Again, you're going to see this in a lot of places now that you've learned it, all right? So for those of you who've been a part of Massive Action Monday today, give me an understanding. Tell me something that you learned in this. And what I'd like for you to do is I would love for you to take the time and actually share this with somebody else. Tell me also down in the comments, what are you going to do? I want you to leverage your current product or service, and I want you to leverage this 331 method, okay? I want to see you do it. And then I want you to tell me about it, especially if you're in our Side Business Builders group. For those of you watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Share down in the comments below. Share this video out with somebody else. More importantly, be right back here next Monday as we give you another opportunity to understand Massive Action Monday. By the way, it's called Massive Action Monday for a reason. I don't want you to just hear what I just said. Go do something with this 331 method. All right? Do it this week with your product or service. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And guess what? For those of you in our audio experience, tomorrow we wrap up a great series. We've been in a series called The 31 Reasons to Grow Your Side Business in 2023. If you haven't yet listened to that, go wherever you listen to your podcast, whatever platform you're on, type in Grow Your Side Business. Take a listen. All month long, I've been sharing a daily episode. That's right, a daily drop of the 31 Reasons to Grow Your Side Business this year. Take this 331 method. Go take some massive action, man. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.